Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Juliana. If you are new here, you are highly welcome, and if you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So today we are going to be having a swatch party, and the swatch party is going to be about the new Natasha Denona retro palette. I also got one of our holiday palette, and this one is actually called Joya. I've been wanting to get one of the two holiday palettes which I missed, but the other one was out of stock, so I was able to get the Joya today. So I'm going to be swatching both palettes for you. When I saw this palette, and I'm just going to bring it up close for you, I fell in love with the palette immediately. When it comes to Natasha Denona's palette now, I don't just look at the palette on its own. I look at it in combination with other palettes I've got from her. And my inspiration actually for getting this palette, or the real reason why I kind of didn't want to wait until she has a sale, because of Mcgrath's Mothership palette, Mothership 3. And for me, this combination of both palettes is absolutely beautiful. I got it because of that purple, because immediately I saw the Natasha's palette, I just thought, oh wow, it's going to go beautifully with that shade. I also thought it would be a good combination and a good kind of like a joint palette with the Mcgrath Mothership 7. If you haven't seen my ranking, that palette is the worst, but I don't like that palette at all. It's my least favorite. It's my least. It just does not do anything for me. Every time I look at the palette, I just kind of wonder why I got it, you know. Maybe some sort of completion, because it's just, I don't know whether it's because it's so warm, or I mean, I love warm tones, but on me they just look meh. They just look so bland, even with the special shades, so bland. And I'm just hoping when I use it with the warm burgundy, it's going to kind of bring out the shades in that palette more. And those are the reasons why I bought this retro palette. Also, like I said earlier, I also consider my other palette from Natasha. I did a video where I mixed all of my palettes from Natasha together. So all of the medium range palettes, I took them out and I kind of redesigned them to my own taste. So this is the Glam palette, and that's the outer packaging. For me now, this is the inside of my Glam palette. So I redesigned my palette. Now I'll show you each and every one of them. This is the Love palette redesigned, which is way different to what they were before. I will put a picture of what they were before for you to compare with. So this is my new Love palette, my new Sunrise palette, bronze palette. Isn't it gorgeous? This is my favorite one. The bronze was just like browns and gold before, but this is what I came up with the bronze, and I absolutely love it. I have no intention of ever putting this palette the way they were before. They're just gonna have to stay this way. And lastly, this is the Metropolis palette. So this is what I ended up putting in the Metropolis palette. So as you can see, it's like my neutral palette with a pop of red and a pop of just a few shades like this beautiful taupe in here. And that's why I bought the retro palette, because I think it's going to be a very good addition to my already existing Natasha Denona palette. Okay, rambling over. Now let's get into the swatches. Alright, this is the first 5 row in that palette, and the first shade, this is this one. It's called Glitz. Andy, Geode, which is what I have on my main lid today. It's that shimmery shade you can see on my lid. That's Geode. And this is Mode. And finally Vivian, which is going to be swatched upside down. So that's Vivian. So starting again from the top, that's Glitz, Andy, Geode, Mode, and Vivian. Alright, this is the second row, and the first shade is Groove, which is on my lid. Again, I'm going to swatch this upside down. So that is Groove. So I've intensified it because it's one of those shades where you have to kind of like blend in for you to be able to see what it looks like properly. And then this is Apart. Psychedelic, got like blue tiny particles in it. And the next is Go Go, and finally Party. Beautiful shades. So that is the second row in this palette. Now on to the third row. Okay, this is the third and final row in the retro palette, and the first shade is Swing. I would swatch. That is Swing. And the next is Nude Mauve. So that's Nude Mauve. And this is my favorite shade, Rebellion. Oh, look how beautiful that shade is. It's like a red, brown, burgundy mixed together. So beautiful. And then up next is Hello. That's a shimmer shade. And then the last shade is Amara. Amara is a beautiful matte. It's a cream to powder formula, but not as creamy as Rebellion. This shade actually took me by surprise. I didn't know how beautiful it is, and trust me, it's even more beautiful on the lid. On top of a nice primer, not too dry, not too wet, kind of just diffuse the look on your eye. Is a totally beautiful shade. It definitely took me by surprise. I love Amara. And that's the last row in the retro palette. Alright, now onto the Joya palette. So these are the shades. The first one is called Bronze. So this is Bronze. Also, I want to point out, look at the retro palette I've just swatched. It just shows you how pigmented it has. So don't let the light shades fool you. I mean, you can still see imprint of it on my hand. So that was Bronze. The next shade is Grape. Oh, I love this shade. In fact, I love this palette, the whole of this palette. I just think it complements our other palettes so well. So that is Grape. And the next shade, which is the one right in the middle, is called Gold. Oh, beautiful. And then up next is Fuchsia, which is a metallic, beautiful shade. Oh, I made a mess of swatching that, but that is absolutely beautiful. And lastly is the shade called Peach Gold, which again is gonna have to be swatched upside down. Peach Gold. I'm going to do that again. So that's Peach Gold. You're definitely gonna need some sort of like a glue glitter primer to apply this properly without it falling off, because it's very light. Yeah, that's the shade. So even though it looks similar to this has got more of a substance of a body, more pigmented than this one. This one is silky, but it's quite light in feel. So I feel like you need something to make sure that it sticks together and it doesn't fall off your eyes. And that's the Joya palette. So put together, that is the Joya palette. Absolutely gorgeous. Oh, I've been wanting this, and I really still want the other one, but I'm glad I was able to get my hands on the Joya palette. So that is the swatches of the Joya palette. Like I said earlier, Mothership 3 was one of the inspiration of me getting this palette, especially this particular one. And that purple shade is my favorite shade in this palette. As beautiful as these special shades are, this one is my favorite in the Mothership 3 palette. And this is what that swatch is like. Absolutely beautiful. I'm now swatching those burgundy tones from the retro palette and beside it. So this is Rebellion. Like I said, my favorite shade in that palette, that's Rebellion. And that's Groove, which is the darkest shade in the palette. And lastly, Amara. You can see how beautifully they're all gonna go together, especially that shimmer in the Mcgrath palette and with Groove. They're just so gonna be beautiful, and I'm gonna swatch them over each other. So that's Groove, lay down all over my hand, and I'm just gonna put the Mcgrath shade. Let me just see what the name is. Right, the shade is called Night Creature, and I'm gonna put Night Creature over Groove. Oh, look at that. If you can see, I'm just gonna bring you, look how beautiful that is. Give it more of a substance. Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I got the retro palette. I have loved the retro palette from the first time I've used it. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm so glad I got it. I just couldn't wait for a sale. I couldn't wait for a sale. I mean, even though on Labor Day there were deals on our website where you buy that in combination with other palette, and she kind of reduced a little bit of the price. So it was still a deal at the end of the day, especially with the Joya palette, which was about, I think, half price. I'm just glad I have it. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed the swatches. Please let me know if you want me to swatch any other palette, or you want me to compare the retro palette with any other palette in my collection, and I will do the comparison. But let me know in the comment section if you want me to do any other video or any other spin-off with this retro palette, or even if it's with my mixed palette, you know, any other video inspiration or suggestions from you, please put it in the comment section. And that's the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like the video, share it, and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'll see you.